Neville Gallimore. I hope it's him. I hope it's him. The pick, no. The pick is in. The pick is in. Oh, please be Gallimore. Please be Gallimore. There we go. Gallimore. There we go. There we go. Oh! Yeah! Yeah! Yes! You fucking dicey! Yes! Ah, yes!
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is UK Cowboys TV episode number 52, because 51 was our live show, technically, so that was a show. Mm-hmm. So first of all, straight off the bat, want to thank everybody that joined us, got in touch, gave us questions, viewed us, all of it. On that live show, it was absolutely phenomenal. And over 7,500 people joined us on day one. Incredible. So we can't thank you enough, guys. You've been absolutely brilliant. And also from myself, I want to thank Graham, Paul, Brian, Rich, and of course Jamie, who was behind the scenes doing his thing. I want to thank you guys for making it what it was. It was brilliant. It was actually a really good night. Not just the draft, but what we were doing was a hell of a laugh. Really enjoyed it, and the people as well really spurred us on. I don't know what you guys made of the draft show.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think, especially when the TV coverage was diminished, you know, you weren't seeing what Vegas had to offer. You weren't necessarily getting a lot of, you weren't jumping to different cameras. It seemed to be the 6 guys that ESPN had set up. Normally they jumped outside where they've got Mooch and so on. They say their 5 minutes. They go to Steve Smith and so on for the wide receiver chat, and Michael Irvin and so on. But I thought the TV cameras made a really good job of it. We kept it going on Facebook, Twitter, as you say, 7,500. That's phenomenal, and I'm sure the rest of the guys want to thank you, Mike, for holding it all together.
No. I'm just a guy that just gasses on. I'm like what I'm doing now. My lips just move and make noise.
I'm going to say it. Like, I mean, I think Paul needs to take a lot of credit as well. Like, I mean, behind the scenes, Paul kept the stream flowing the whole time. You know,
try to.
that wasn't easy, you know. But like, I mean, I think I loved it. I mean, I spent 3 or 4 days, you know, looking at rosters, building up facts and stuff like that. I mean, I think probably you 2%, but loved it. We'll do it again in a heartbeat.
Yes, well, that is actually news coming up for when season 2 kicks off. But I do want to give a shout out, though, of course, as well, to a guy who kept our spirits really high, was Jamie behind the scenes. I mean, that boy. We can't discuss about the things that were going on behind the scenes with that boy. But let's just say he was doing his thing, and he'd had a beer or two as well.
Yeah,
we're a family show.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we can't discuss it too much on air, but it was brilliant.
Was it Jamie that dropped the Jerry had a little lamb on Twitter?
Yes.
I know he copied Taylor, but that was the highlight of the night.
Some of the stuff he was coming out with, he was on form, to say the least.
I bet you was encouraging him as well.
The only thing that didn't come off, but he was actually supposed to be on the show tonight, was Big Game James. There was going to be a bit of a crossover work where some of us were going to go over onto their show over there and they join ours. It's something that we are going to look to do going forward, which is going to be something completely unique, never been done before. The whole cross-Atlantic show streaming extravaganza, whatever you want to call it. But they did really well as well. They were having a whale of a time over that end. I was getting updates from those guys just the same. But we're here to talk, of course, I get my words out now, all about what happened over the weekend. First of all, guys, I'll start with you, Gray. Just basically going off what the whole draft, not for ourselves now, just the draft itself. What was your general feeling as well as your feeling and grade for the Cowboys draft from top to bottom?
Well, after the kind of dust settled, I think anybody that watched the live stream, we were taken aback, let's say, by the Lamb pick. Straight away, we all thought, "Hold on a minute, we're playing Madden here." But I think once you let it marinate, and you kind of, we all had to think about it. You're getting a top receiver, probably the top receiver. At 17, you cannot argue with the value. It's tremendous value. And I think I felt a whole lot better about the situation when we drafted Diggs. To get the talent that we needed in the right area, I think helped a huge amount. We are going to put up points. We'll get on to the kind of addressing the defense. In terms of the draft as a whole, I thought teams were quite reserved.
Very sensible draft.
Yeah, it was a sensible draft. I think.
Did you watch the Packers?
On a whole, specific teams, I would agree, but on a whole, they were quite sensible.
In terms of trades, I think you normally see teams jump up into the top 10, which didn't happen. I think I made a point that last year saw a ridiculous amount of trades. I think only 25 original picks in the first 2 rounds from last year. You could argue that teams haven't been able to get their hands on players. They haven't been able to poke and prod and see how their system fits and all that kind of stuff. So they're not necessarily wanting to give up capital to go and get somebody. I think we saw in terms of quarterback, that's a different story. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not winning. So I'm sure we'll get on to the Eagles pick. But for me, regular listeners will know my dad's a Packers fan, and he's not too concerned. I have to add, he thinks that by taking Rodgers, they've kind of laid the groundwork to take Love. Brian Gutekunst, who's the general manager, he was in the front office when they took Rodgers, when they necessarily didn't need to when they had Farr. So I can see why they've done it, but a team reaching the NFC Championship game doesn't need a backup quarterback. They need a difference maker.
I mean, they needed playmakers, and they still have never taken a playmaker in the first round. But going to you, Paul, just generally, what was your feeling on the NFL draft and the Cowboys draft?
It started off with disappointment, then reevaluating, then it started getting better and better and better and better. And I'm just going to generally summarize it. I'm definitely going to give this draft like a grade of A.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Like, honestly, like how it actually panned out, I generally think this is probably the best draft class that we've done since 2016.
If you was to go off initial reaction, I was, in the group chat with you and asking Stashman and all of them, and I said, you're going off immediate reaction. Obviously, how things go, coaching and injury and all the rest of it. Let's not worry about that. Just the initial reaction. I don't think there's been a draft this hyped by the Cowboys in a long time. Like, this was like, wow, you have drafted really, really well. I agree. I would give it an A as well, 100%. Are you the same, Bri?
I mean, looking at it coldly and going, right, what areas did we address? Did we get what we needed? And we did. We picked up 2 defensive ends. We picked up 2 cornerbacks, which were needs. we didn't get the safety that we desired. But when you look at the names that we picked up, you know, you're going, Jesus. I think our first 6 picks were all inside most people's top 100.
Yeah, they were.
The only concern I would have is, why did some of them just fall into our laps? Was it a case of teams didn't need these players, or there's something that we don't know? You know, I think the fact we didn't get a chance to interview in person as many people because of what's going on globally at the minute. That would maybe be my concern, is, well, why did all these guys fall? Is there something we don't know? Because, I mean, it came out straight away. We didn't interview CD Lamb because we never thought he was getting to 17. Now, obviously, CD Lamb is a different case, but I'll be interested to see in a week or two, had we interviews or discussions with every one of these players, or did we take them because they were available and there's something we don't know? So as an overall, yes, you're taking it as an A+ because of the names, because the issues they were addressed.
And just even if you're trying to look at to the later rounds, like especially our last pick is the quarterback, Ben DiNucci. I don't know if I've pronounced his name correctly, but I do apologise.
Ben DiNucci, yeah.
But after when you get drafted, then you're seeing all the reports of the extensive links to Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is that.
Like, so it just shows like this boy has been scouted a lot.
Yeah.
And Jerry like has him highly rated. So
I mean, the big one is, I mean, since he got drafted, I mean, obviously I didn't look at his tape. I have watched it since he's got drafted. I've only watched one game, the FCS final against North Dakota, which I wrote up on the Cowboys side. I mean, we'll get to him because he's probably the more interesting pick. Bear in mind, we've taken quarterbacks as undrafted free agents and have broken Cowboys records. So
we certainly have.
So I'm going to start with you, Paul, because you had quite a knee-jerk reaction live to this pick. So we're going to start off with you. In case you're wondering, that wasn't what was on the intro. That was from the Neville Gallimore pick, where we seen Paul have the more elated the more related version there. But go back and watch the show on pick 17. We had another reaction. So let's start with you on this one, Paul, right? CD Lamb pick. First pick 17 for the Cowboys. Now, just to put this into some sort of perspective for you guys, right? Now, the rankings of the NCAA football players, I mean, we're talking thousands, especially in the world of wide receiver, right? You imagine there are thousands of college wide receivers, right? In terms of receiving yards in the season just gone, CD Lamb came 6 out of thousands, right? In terms of receiving touchdowns, he was 5th.
Wow.
And if he was to say, well, why wasn't he taken over Jerry Jeudy? Who's to know? I mean, Jerry Jeudy came 20th. Hold on. Yeah. 20th in receiving yards and 25th in touchdowns. Both, mind you, CD Lamb and Jerry Jeudy both had 5 drop passes in their college career, but CD Lamb outdone Jeudy in number of receptions, so his drop rate is a lot better. But just give me what your initial thoughts are on the CD Lamb pick then, Paul.
Obviously, initially, I wasn't really too chuffed about it. Obviously, you can see that in the live stream of episode 51. But reflecting back on it, I actually admire the pick, to be honest. Like, I've never went so bipolar over a draft pick in my life. If you know what I mean. So, because initially I was just like, oh, you're joking. Why did we not go for Tavon Jason or trade down to like date like say Xavier McKinney or whatever in that. That's what I was thinking, but thinking back now, it's like, you know what? That's actually, when you think about it, with the player like I said, Gallup, we don't know if we're gonna like keep him on after next season, if we're gonna offer him a contract. I would like to hope so that we do, but the fact is we've got more firepower. And the fact is that Lamb's got better ball security than what we've already got.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That to me is what kind of got the mind thinking. I was like, you know what? Actually, would be like that. Now we've got 3 of them. Who is going to get double covered?
Nobody.
Nobody.
And you think about this, that their base formation has to be a 3 wide receiver set. It has to be, because that's the strength of your offense. And think about this, right? Tell me if you agree or disagree that the Lamb pick, thanks to that, and they're going 3 wide receiver set, because there's going to be no slot corners that can cover a Cooper or Lamb. This benefits more than anything else Zeke.
Absolutely.
Think about how he is going to eat in games now. Empty boxes.
And it does take a certain pressure of damage off the offensive line.
Definitely.
When you're in the O line and you're doing a run play, you're pretty much a battering ram. But when you're in pass protection, you're just trying to guide away and push away the defensive ends and nose tackles and hold them up as much as you can, rather than using your brute force for the run game to open up the gaps. So it's quite a one or the other. So it does kind of take the pressure off them as well.
And you think you've got to take a linebacker out to put a slot corner in. You got a lighter box. You have a lighter box. Immediately, that's pressure off your O-line. You're practically almost 1-for-1 in the box. And Zeke, you know for a fact, if he's got a man in front of him being blocked, he is going to find open space and hit pay dirt.
I mean, can you imagine if you're running plays like 4 verticals and stuff like that? I know I'm running a Madden play right now, but
no, but you could.
But you could. But even with Jarwin there as the slot, like he could play slot slides. He could play slot tight end, and you still got.
He is a move tight end.
Yeah. And the options are endless, and
they are.
I'm very, very excited to see what is going to happen offensively now.
There's so much you can do. I mean, like, what you got to think about as well is, apart from Gallup is really the only. He's going to be your outside wide receiver permanently. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
But everybody else, including, like you said, including your tight ends and your 2 running backs, is almost positionless football.
Mm-hmm.
Because bear in mind, Dak can run the ball too.
That was the point I was going to really make. Is as much as this,
give me your take on.
As much as this is going to benefit Zeke, it also opens up the run pass option.
Yes,
it really does, because you now have teams who have to go 1-on-1.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're in a 3 receiver set, you have to go 1-on-1. And you now have Zeke coming out of the backfield if needed. But you also have Dak has the ability to move up. And we all know Dak has no fear of running. And that's really going to scare teams, because there's no other, apart from Jackson, who's more a scrambler, there's no other quarterback in the league that runs as well, as strong as Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I agree. I think you said it as well, Gray, on the show, which was quite interesting with the CD Lamb pick. I think it was you that said it, that was also not just a great pick for the Cowboys in terms of that they stuck to their board, take a best player available. It's a guy who's dropped nearly 10, 11 places where he should have been taken. But it also meant that the Eagles couldn't take him.
Yeah. I just wonder if it, pardon the pun, but I just wonder if it ruffled a few feathers.
It certainly did for a few of them.
I mean, we'll get on to their pick, but I just wonder if it sent a few shockwaves through the Northeast, because in my opinion, Jalen Reagor is not a first round receiver.
No, definitely not. I can see what they've done. They've gone for speed, which is something ironically we said the Eagles were lacking. But I think they could have got Reagor early. Do you know what I actually think? I wonder if they didn't step on the gas early enough to make a trade when the picks were coming in. They didn't make a trade early enough. And basically as they were watching those picks coming off, they could just see it just slipping away from them, just going further and further away.
We'll get onto the NFC East, but in terms of their draft, in my opinion, they think they're going to the playoffs again this year, because you don't take Jalen Reagor where they did and then draft a backup quarterback if you think you're not going to win.
I would really like to know what the hell they're smoking.
I don't. They think they've got the best team in the NFC East because you don't take Jalen Hurts that high.
The only thing that Philadelphia's got is the best thing ever. It's Philly cheesesteaks. That's it.
I mean, looking at their draft, you know, I can see where they've gone. They've kind of filled some needs. Corner they didn't address at all. No defense. They took Kayvon Wallace, sorry, but yeah, he's a pure back.
Just to go back to the first pick, like I was certain they would have went with Jefferson. That's who I thought they would have went for.
That would have been a better pick. Apparently, right? I don't know how true this is, mind, right? But apparently, from what I heard today, that Jalen Reagor on their board, because bear in mind we do all our own boards and what have you. On their actual board, their personal draft board they done themselves. The reason they didn't do a trade was that they had Reagor as their wide receiver 2. Apparently. And that's why they stayed where they were and they waited and they didn't trade, yada, yada, yada.
Looking at the receivers they've taken through the draft, they're topping up on speed. I think they're trying to be the Chiefs. They're trying to be the long ball over the top, which opens up the running back. But
good luck to Wentz for staying fit if you can actually throw anything of that.
Yeah. They've got Andre Dillard coming in to start at tackle, who they took the first round from last year. Yeah. So I think they've moved on from his name escapes me.
Jason Peters.
Yeah. I think he's on the roster 30 now. So
is Aguilar still there?
Aguilar is still.
No,
Aguilar
he's at the Raiders now.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
right.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing, right? Is that they've taken Jalen Reagor fast as hell. His biggest problem is he drops passes. Which is the whole reason they got rid of Nelson Aguilar, because he dropped passes.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, and like I say, I'll reiterate, you don't take a backup QB in the second round if you don't think your team is set to go to the playoffs again.
Yeah.
Because think of the talent they could have had in the second round, and they go and supplement a QB position.
Yeah. I know that really doesn't make sense. But I mean, as you were saying, great. I mean, the NFC East is a show that we're going to do next week where we break it down with special guests. The only thing I got to add personally on CeeDee Lamb is don't forget he was at Oklahoma with 3 different quarterbacks that all went in the first or second round, and we're all Heisman Trophy candidates or winners. No, wait, yeah.
Yep.
So it shows that he's a guy that will elevate a quarterback, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who he's playing with. He'll find a way to work with that quarterback. So it shows, variability and that he can adjust his play style for that quarterback. So it is crazy to look at.
To put a nice little bow on it, last year the Cowboys were first in yards
Yeah,
and second in passing yards,
I know.
and that's before we picked Lamb.
Mm.
So here we
And
come.
I am about to be controversial, right, on this, and then we're going to have to move off Lamb. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck on just pick number 1 for the entire show.
Have to get out the mint sauce.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we'll just briefly touch on this very quickly, and then we'll move on. Should he get number 88, as has been reported?
I don't think he should take 88. 88 comes with a huge weight on the shoulders. He doesn't need. He's not coming in to be the number 1 receiver, and 88 is the Cowboys' number 1 receiver. He may well develop into a number 1, but he doesn't need the weight of 88. Dez we drafted out of need. We needed Dez Bryant to be a number 1. All this talk about earning it, how can he? I think he should. I think he should stay away. Paul will touch on that, but I think he should. Yeah. He should stay away from 88. Go with 10.
What do you think, Paul? Go on. What's your take on the 88?
I'm not that entirely fussed, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I will question people's. Oh God, I can't believe I'm going to be saying this. Stupidity. Absolute stupidity.
Yeah.
It's like Michael Irvin was drafted given 88. Dez Bryant was drafted. He was given 88. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, they didn't exactly bloody earn it.
Yeah, you get given it. Yeah. And what's your take, Bright? Go on.
If I jump in on it, like, as the guys have said, Irvin, Pearson, Dez were all drafted to be the number 1 wide receiver. 88 is one of our premier numbers.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's given out. I know Jerry wants to give him 88, but if the guy wants to play in the number 10 jersey, which has been reported widely, let's just give him the number 10. Yeah. He doesn't need any more pressure because Amari Cooper is still our number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
You know, and just leave it at that, tie a bow on it and move on. Anyone saying he doesn't deserve 88, you don't deserve a player like CD Lamb on your team if that's your opinion.
Just something else to add on top of that as well. It's like I'm pretty sure that Lamb wouldn't want that additional pressure as well. Like he just wants to just the foot. Like it's like I just want my number 10, and that's it. I don't need this extra. Like if I was given the 88, like if I was a desperate wide receiver, I would accept that. But because I know what the circumstances with the team are, I know what my role is. Like it's like I just want to ball out and do what I need to do. So just let Lamb choose. Let him choose.
Yeah. By joining the 88 club, you initially put, you're joining a big club in terms of pressures and yards and touchdowns and all that kind of stuff. And you know that sooner or later someone's going to ask him, CD, you've joined the 88 club and you only got 600 yards and 5 touchdowns in your first season. What's going on here? All he needs to say is, well, Michael Gallup and Cooper got 2,000 yards between them. There's only one ball. He doesn't need the pressure of joining the 88 club.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also, sorry, Mike, just one more thing.
It's okay.
There was one particular comment I saw earlier regarding this, and I wanted to just tear him the facts. He said that it should never been given to Dez in the first place. He'd never earned it, and he's done nothing. I was like, I'm sorry, but Dez is the leading all-time wide receiver with touchdowns for the Dallas Cowboys. What the fuck?
It's okay. You can spit.
I'm trying my best to not take cuss there, but for fuck's sake.
Let it out, Paul. Let it out. And I mean, going off just what other back of you guys are saying, I like the tradition. I know what you're saying with the pressure that it comes with. The only thing I would say is he's probably one of the few wide receivers taken this highly that's coming in to play on a team where there's already established wide receivers, and he's just slot, so there's a little less pressure on him in that sense.
Yeah. Like, and I think this is actually a more beneficial gain for the team in general and for Lamb. Like, he can still have room to grow, and
Yeah.
Not have to worry about getting double teamed. You can still open doors for other wide receivers and vice versa for Cooper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
And then, just going off what you were saying as well with the Dez situation, people saying about that. Bear in mind, Dez was picked at 24.
Yeah.
And he was given the 88. Michael Irvin was picked at 11, given the 88.
And we traded up to get Dez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sat past took CD at 17.
I mean,
the only reason
when you look at first round wide receivers taken by the Cowboys, they get given the 88. And that's all I can say on that.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there's a hint of selling jerseys.
There is that. That is what
new kid on the block, the number one receiver.
That's definitely on Jerry as well.
Yeah.
That's definitely a Jerry 101. Like Jerry is like the master of marketing. Like remember when the whole scenario with Zeke, with the whole contract, like he made that specific T-shirt about a comment he made, Zeke who. Those things sold like hotcakes.
He'll do that. And that is what it's all about. Remember, at the end of the day, in the NFL, money comes first. But we've literally rinsed like half the show on CD. Let's get through all the others because there is one I know Paul will want to talk about. So let's get on to pick number 2 at number 51. It was cornerback Trayvon Diggs for Alabama, converted wide receiver. I got him marked down as being an Aqib Talib type. He did as well take kickoff and punt returns, which is interesting. But what I heard, I don't know what you guys heard on the grapevine, this was a guy that they were going to draft in the first round.
Yeah. A huge sigh of relief when we took Trayvon Diggs. If you were to make a cast of the prototype cornerback, 6'1", 205 pounds, he's the shining example.
Cheeto body. Either Cheeto and him are almost exactly the same in body type.
He will be NFL ready for day one because of his brother Stefan. Any question he has, it will have been answered well before now. Obviously, he's gone into an established locker room. With the cornerbacks being in the state that we are at the moment, there's every chance. I know it's a big statement, but there's every chance he starts the first game of the season.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the talent is there. Yeah. NFL.com have graded 6.39. Will be a starter within the first 2 seasons. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the first.
I think you've got to play him on the outside on the boundary, and you keep Jordan as your slot corner. Got a take on Trayvon. Brian, I'll come back to you, Paul, on the next pick.
I'm in total agreement with Graham. I think he starts the first game of the season, and I think he has everything we want. He has the size, he has the ability. He's played as a wide receiver, so he knows what to do. But more than anything, I like the confidence of him. He will fight all day long. And the fact he turned around and said, I want 31. We've just had a guy walk out of the building, earn the biggest cornerback contract in history, and he said, I want that number. He's saying, he's slamming his hand down and saying, I'm looking at who's in this defensive bathroom, and I'm going to step up and I'm going to lead them. Which is what we need, because God forgive me, and I love the guy. Jeff Heath was the secondary captain last year. And, he's just he was a quiet guy, he did his job. Diggs looked to me like the guy who's going to say, follow me, I'll lead you.
And you got to
setting the example.
And you got to look as well with Trayvon Diggs at Alabama. He was the leader, or he was one of the leaders and vocal voices in the defensive on the defensive team in Alabama. And I think that's what he's going to be building up to. But he's a guy who has touchdowns in every category too. He's had an interception for a touchdown, a reception for a touchdown, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And the fumble recovery was on the Alabama's goal line. It was like a 100-yard fumble recovery touchdown.
we were screaming for turnovers all last season, so hope
This
may
is
it continue.
Yeah. Just to add to what you're saying there, Great, his interceptions came mostly in his last season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, when you consider at 19, the Raiders took Damon Arnett.
I know.
What the hell, man?
I would have taken Diggs over Arnett every day of the week.
He was higher on my board. Yeah. But that, of course, wraps up pick number 2. Now I'm going to go straight.
I've never been asked about number 2.
I'm gonna.
Sorry, don't worry about it. Sorry.
It's because I know I wanted to skip it because I know that you really want to talk about pick number 3 at number 82.
He wants to keep as much fuel in the tank for the next one, Paul. That's what it is.
That's all I was. I didn't want to gas out because this is really important. So at the third pick, defensive tackle Neville Gallimore from Oklahoma. I've got him marked down as an exact copy, but more talented than Malik Collins.
Yep.
That's who I got him. So I tell you what, I won't bother asking because this is going to go on for at length. I'm not going to bother asking Graham O'Brien. Paul,
yes.
Gallimore, talk about him. Off you go.
Beast, animal, speed, aggression. Just, it's just... They call him the Canadian bulldozer for no reason, man. Honest to God, man. Like, I lost my fucking shit when we drafted him.
Are you talking about yourself, Paul, or are you talking about the pick?
Both.
I mean, what's most ironic with the pick, Neville Gallimore, is we spoke at length on the show about him.
Well, me? I did.
Yeah,
I've been raving about him for months.
Yeah, we even did like an intro video on Neville Gallimore, the lot.
That's right.
I mean, and then he comes on. Now, the only negative I've got for him, I've got 2 negatives. One works in our favor, is that he is definitely 100% a 4th. He will only work in a 4-3 defense. He is not going to work on an odd front. Works in Cowboys' favor. The only other problem is he does have a trouble with his anchor. So in run defense, he's not a good fit for that. But as we say, what was Malik Collins?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was your original defensive tackle in passing downs, and that is exactly what Gallimore is. But what is it for you then, Paul, that really made him stand out to you? What was the one thing that stood out for you?
Going into more detail about how Gallimore plays it is his technical ability of getting off the ball.
Yes.
Which I thought was frightening for a guy of his size. And if you look at his combine, what he ran, like I think it was like a 4.8 or something?
I don't check. It was quick, yeah.
Yeah.
And for a guy his size, it's just about roughly about 300 pounds that can run that fast. It just shows you the athleticism of a guy. And not just that, it can easily put pressure on the quarterback. He disrupts the offensive line time and over. And people had like last year that he was quite quiet, but he absolutely blossomed this year in college football for Oklahoma. Absolutely blossomed.
Yeah, he ascended for definite.
To jump in for a minute, Neville Gallimore's 40 yards, 4.79.
That's right. I was going to say 4.7.
Unbelievable.
But like on my scout report, I put straight first number 1 thing he does best is he makes his money off his first step.
Yes. Yep.
That is his big thing, and exactly what you were saying. And then hand technique is a big one. Extra gear to close down runners, and a full plethora bag of tools used for rushing. So,
and you can see his reaction that he was very excited to be part of the Cowboys, and he even saw Jaron McCoy as well. So. It's exciting times. Like even if we've got Jared McCoy here just for one season, that he can still show like the Gallimore, Woods, and all the other defensive tackles the ropes of like how to better themselves in that position. Because McCoy's done it for years. Like he knows he's like that point where he can just step in and still do a good job. Like, but for likes to pass that knowledge on to Gallimore and likes of players likes of Woods as well, who are still like. Admire quite a lot.
Don't forget, you could help Tristan Hill as well.
That's right. That's right. I keep forgetting about that. Like
imagine if the lights come on with Tristan Hill
the sacrificial lamb of last year.
Yeah. Imagine if the lights come on this year with Hill. God. Imagine that D-line.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would love to be eating some humble pie if that's the case.
I'm telling you, I never write it off. But as you say, McCoy is he seems that sort of guy where he's just going to love dishing out the knowledge. He seems such a nice guy in that way.
Yeah,
But that was the pick. For me, it was in terms of rank of best value pick, it's very close. It's very close between 2 and 3. It's very close.
I've got him as the best. Well, this is my personal opinion. I think we got him at the best value.
Well, I'll move on to what my best value pick was. It wasn't Lamb, but
it was Bradley.
Yes.
Yeah.
By a long way. For value, I mean, in this particular case, he was, I had him as my 45th player. We took him at 82. So still a massive value and a top 50 player who should have gone in the second round. But let's move on to pick number 4. I'm going to let you take this one away, Bri. Reggie Robinson, the second from Tulsa. I actually like this pick. Now, people are saying, and I think we spoke about this as day 3 started, and they took the pick. A lot of people saying that we didn't address safety in the draft. Now, I've got him as Kareem Jackson type, who plays strong safety. What do you think? Is he playing corner, slot corner, safety? What's your opinion on this?
I think he's going to play a dual role, and it doesn't involve safety. I can see him being a perimeter corner, but I can also see him playing as a nickel linebacker. The guy is a tackling machine, and he hits hard. He sends guys backwards, and that is it's something again that we need. Like I've kind of been looking at him for about a month now. Remember the guy who's talking about him on the draft show when they did their mock last Monday. They picked him in the 4th and were delighted to get him that late. So the fact we managed to pick him up with our 4th round pick was phenomenal. As I say, perimeter guy, athletic, long, rangy. The defensive back room seems to be moving again towards that plus 6 foot athletic guys. It looks like Jordan Lewis is going to potentially lose out again. But as I say, I can see potentially for Robinson coming in and maybe playing that nickel linebacker role as well in spots, kind of picking up tight end coming across the middle.
Yeah, I mean, as we were talking about NCAA stat ranks, he actually ranks 10th in pass deflections for last year and 7th in interceptions.
Yeah.
So he can do it. He can do the job. But hit me with your take on him, Gray.
Yeah, going to go back to the stats again on this one. Yeah. Same height as Diggs.
Yes.
Same weight as Diggs. Yeah. And he runs a 4.4. So
it's consistency.
Play him at safety and he'll fly. So you can see him. You can see him playing the safety position.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, to get him where we did, he's going to be kind of rotational, kind of fighting for a job. But after a year in the system, every chance he could play safety, in my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah, that's why I got him. Slot corner, safety hybrid, Kareem Jackson type. Exactly what we're looking at. But if we move to pick number 5 for Paul, because I know he loves the O-line and the D-line. At number 146, we took inside offensive lineman center, Tyler Biatz from Wisconsin, school where we have taken center before, who ended up becoming a 3-time Pro Bowler.
Yep. Talk
to me about what it is he does good and what he needs to do more of.
He's a very commanded centre and he's very durable. That's a big factor. He's He's
Okay.
played. I'm pretty sure he's played all. I'm pretty sure he's not missed a game, has he? I'm pretty sure.
No, yeah, he's had major injuries.
Yeah.
He had
Well,
injuries.
who am I thinking of then?
I'm not entirely sure. Biat
Hold
was
on a minute.
he had hip surgery
Yeah.
last year and shoulder surgery, and that's why he took a big dip in.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, that's why his stats
Yeah.
took a big dip last season. After his hip surgery, like I actually had him as my number one inside offensive lineman in my early preseason draft rankings by the end of the season because he just looked a little bit clunky with his feet. Narrow base is what he was doing. So I'm putting that down to hip issues. I mean, for me, it's his IQ and play recognition.
I must have been thinking about the other guy I had in my mock draft.
John Simpson.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Bias he's short-armed, which is an issue, but his IQ and his play recognition. There's, in fact, I'll send it to you. There's a play where he sees a stunt coming round and he literally pulls, and you think, what the hell is he doing? This is like a great big gap. And he follows and tracks the stunt as the lineman cuts across and just cuts him off completely. I mean, the guy, he pancakes him.
I'm just looking up him just now. Like he's actually won the Remington Award, like to be named like best center in the country.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
his stats before the hip surgery were incredible. Like I had him going in the first round.
Yeah. Like he was very high on the board.
Yeah.
But I think what went against him was there was a bit of inconsistency when he faced the tougher opposition.
Yeah.
When he came up against the Penn States, Ohio's, Michigan. But it's not a knock on him. I think he's an absolute steal where we got him and he has a year to sit and learn. And there's no expectation on the guy this year because we have Joe Looney. We have Adam Redmond. Conor McGovern can't step in there, so he's getting a year, he's getting a freebie. He's getting a redshirt year effectively, and we can see what we have.
Yeah, and he's going to be that guy where medically they can have a look to see where exactly he's at.
Mm-hmm.
If they do stick him on the 46, he's going to be a guy on the swing because obviously you can't forget. Although we got Conor McGovern in the other corner, he had the ACL tear. Which was in November. So, you're looking at a year for him being out before anything happens. So you're going to see him, I think, as a backup at this stage, certainly on the team, with the chance to escalate to the next level. But let's move on to probably my best value for pick. Pick number 6 at 179. I'll go to you, Greg. Defensive end, Bradley and I from Utah. I got him as Dwayne Smoot, who was a Pro Bowler for the Jags. But what have you got on him? What's your feelings on this pick?
I think we got extreme value. Certainly, I thought third or fourth round. I think in terms of the position, I don't think we're particularly set at defensive end. Remains to be seen whether we keep our, let's say, troubled players.
Whether those two players do. I think there's a good chance they both make the roster. Personally. But this is the NFL and the Dallas Cowboys.
We could spend all the podcast talking about them. I think he's got a chance to become a starter and to get that type of player in the 5th round. Again, going back to what Brian was saying, are there off-field issues that the Cowboys don't necessarily know about? But I'm not gonna pull them up on something that they don't know. Like we said, they haven't had the opportunity to get their hands on these guys, getting them in the building, put them in front of a chalkboard or whatever. So you can only go on the tape and the combine. So
exactly.
To get a caliber like that in the 5th round, that's a great choice because you don't know
mean,
I think Tyrone Crawford is primed to be cut on his salary. Whether we bring him back or not, I don't know. I think it's only $8 million, and we'd save all of that, close to that.
Yeah.
So it's an awkward one. And by bringing in somebody like Annie, in terms of pushing our troubled guys, there's every chance he starts a couple of games.
I think so. He's situational for definite. But what's your take on it, Paul? Then go on. I know you love D-line.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't really know too much about Bradley, if I'm being honest, but just looking at his stats, man, like, he's getting better and better every year. Like, last season, he had 13 sacks in 12 games. That's decent for, like, that's more than one sack per game. It's decent. And tackles for loss, 41 tackles, 14 for a loss, 1 forced fumble last year. Yeah. But every year's been progression. So, but yeah, it's, like you said, Mike, it's a great value pick, and when you kind of, like, now that I do think about it, it could shift my Gallimore pick to second, but I'll see how it pans out, and I can make a second judgment on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what you've got to remember is this is a late day 3 pick, right?
Yeah.
And he is a development project. There is room where he needs, especially in use of his consistency and athleticism. And if you go and watch him trying to make open field tackles, it's really bad. Like, you would think a guy his size could wrap a guy up quite easy. No. I don't know what goes on there. His open field tackle, when he's in coverage, it is quite bad. But these are things that that can be worked on, because the rest of what is in his bag is amazing. His hand usage, his burst, and biggest of all that I put down is his snap anticipation. I mean, the guy is, and he's relentless and plays with pure urgency. Like, every play, you go and watch it, you'll see. You're just like, the guy is a madman. Yeah. And, like, he's a madman that knows where to put the craziness in the right place as soon as the snap comes off.
Yeah. Particularly with this pick and with the Robinson pick.
Yeah.
I think they're guys that have been brought in at later rounds of the draft, and they will certainly rattle the cages of a few of the depth charts. I think a lot of the time last season, the team kind of picked itself almost, particularly at defensive ends. So if you can send later round picks in where, let's face it, they're not blue chip talent. That's all gone by the first round, obviously. So you're kind of going, not scraps, but they have developmental boxes still to tick. Yeah. So if these guys can come in, shake things up, obviously they've got time on their hands and all that kind of stuff. And
I mean, at the end of the day, day 3 is the scouts' day.
Yeah.
And all you're looking at there is talent and traits. That's all you're looking for. But here's a bit of a more difficult one. I've only literally watched one game, the FCS final against North Dakota State. Pick number 7 at 231 was quarterback Ben DiNucci from James Madison. Anybody want to go off, first of all, with their initial take on this particular pick?
It's absolutely Mike McCarthy 101.
Agreed.
You take a late round quarterback, you develop him. I said it last week on the show, Cooper Rush is expected to earn $2 million against the cap. I can imagine now they're going to cut Cooper Rush before the season starts. You're saving $2 million. You have DiNucci there. You still have Clay Thorson. Who knows who you could pick up? But, I mean, we all know we're riding Dak.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not as if it's just a case of, let's see what he has. And, if he shows anything, you can potentially in a year flip him and draft another quarterback and get that guy in there. Like, Graham will speak more clearly on what Mike McCarthy is like with quarterbacks.
No, I totally agree. On my write-up, I put that it's really atypical of McCarthy to take a late-round quarterback. Literally does it every draft. Most don't come off, but it's still a thing that happens. I mean, like Brian was saying, Gray, you'll have a bit more take with Green Bay Packers, since you got Packers fans in the family. Is there a particular take that you have on Ben DiNucci? Me, I've put him down as camp arm, possible to make the practice squad, your third quarterback, see what you get sort of situation. Do you agree?
It took me by surprise, I have to admit.
Yes, by surprise.
But one thing I will say is that, like you guys are saying, they do bring guys in. Particularly the one that jumps to the top of my mind, Matt Flynn. So they take Matt Flynn later rounds of the draft, and I don't know if you remember, but he was actually signed the same year that they drafted Wilson. And at some point, the head coach or the GM had to go to the owner and say, "Yeah, by the way, see that guy that we spent $20 million on? Any chance we could stick him on the bench?
Yeah,
because we're going to start Wilson." So Matt Flynn has been put in a position where another team thinks that he could come in and be the guy without spending too much capital on him. Like I've said before, the Packers are always ready to go at quarterback. They're never in the situation where they're going into the season think, right, what are we going to do at quarterback? I mean, I've just brought up his page there. He was taken in the 7th round. 7th round, and this is Matt Flynn. 7th round, and he signed a 3-year deal with the Seahawks for $20 million, $9 million guaranteed. So by the scrap of tape that he made at Green Bay, the Seahawks thought he had the chance to be somebody. So certainly he has a way with quarterbacks because you saw Rodgers fall, and McCarthy must have said to the guys in the front office, "Look, this guy could take over from far." So, and obviously he's won a Super Bowl so far. So, there are few better than Mike McCarthy at developing quarterbacks,
finding and developing.
And the only thing I would say. The selection took me by surprise a little bit because I noticed that certainly I've got a liking for Anthony Gordon. He was on the board, but at the 7th round, you're talking backup. They might have seen something. Certainly, the one thing I know about who we got, DiNucci, his ball security is very good. But I mean, obviously, we're talking about the level he plays at, but certainly don't turn the ball over is step one of how to be a QB. So he certainly ticks that box. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And then have you got a take on this, Paul, or do you want to jump straight to the mailbag?
I don't really know too much about Ben.
Okay.
I'm just that happy we've kind of got more competition at quarterback now.
That is a big thing, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I put. It's a competition.
Chris, I feel it was just like stalemate with Cooper Rush.
Yeah. There is that.
So it's good to kind of like get some alert, get people's Twitter fingers happy.
I mean, like literally everything I've written down is what we've talked about. Yeah. The only thing I've put, why I marked him down, I put this as a D grade, is because I think you could have probably got Ben DiNucci in undrafted. Yeah,
I'm going to disagree with you here because apparently he'd already taken phone calls from the Patriots and the Bears for undrafted. Okay. And that's why we took him in the 7th, is to get ahead of them.
Yeah, and that again is something that I put. If they liked him and they were afraid that they weren't going to sign him during this period, the safe bet was to draft him with your last pick. That is exactly what I've put. Yeah. But let's jump straight to the mailbag, guys. We got Joe, who's Joe Francis, jumping in with a question for us. Start with you, Graham. Which wide receiver is going to get the most receiving yards this season?
It's still Cooper.
I agree.
The chemistry's there. I think a similar question came up last year. You don't pay what we did for Cooper and not use him at the forefront. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, because if you don't, they straight away they end up with egg on their face. So
Definitely.
he's the most polished route runner.
Mm-hmm.
He has the chemistry with Dak.
The experience.
Despite December, I've forgotten all about December. I'm of the opinion that he was carrying some sort of injury or niggle.
I think so too.
But yeah, I'm going to stick with Amari Cooper because he's the most pedigree, the biggest route tree, best hands. Yeah,
I'm with you. And you guys, Paul, Brian, you're in agreement, both the same. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah.
Alrighty. So
barring injury, yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So Steve got in touch with us as well. He says he thinks we're going to win the NFC East, but who do you guys think are the main threats in the NFC this year? I'll start with you, Paul.
I'm going to say Washington.
Okay. This is not the NFC East, the NFC in general.
Oh, the NFC. Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about our division. Oh, sorry. And the NFC.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm still saying 49ers. 49ers
nah,
are up there.
I wouldn't say them.
Yeah.
No.
They did have a great draft for me, but they're still they didn't need to draft too much. There weren't too many holes in the 49ers roster.
Potentially the Saints.
Saints, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, from what they did in the draft, I might even say the Vikings, actually, because they did quite well in the draft.
Vikings had quite a nifty draft, yeah.
Yeah, the Jefferson.
Right.
Vikings are still saying with Kirk Cousins the quarterback, and he's likely to implode.
Yeah,
but
that is the issue.
I kind of saw the question from Steve, and I responded to it, and I said the Saints, the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Packers are the four teams for me that I'd look towards. I can't see anyone in our division coming close to us this year.
Yeah,
I just don't think. I think the Eagles haven't done enough. The Redskins have drafted well, but they're still a year or two away, and the Giants are the Giants draft.
And you in agreement? Any changes there, Gray, with what we got, or do you think the same?
Oh, I still think the 49ers.
Yeah.
I still think the 49ers. I think they're the favourites to get out of their division. I
see. The thing is we when we talk about the NFC West, the issue with the Seahawks, the Rams drafted very confusingly for me. They picked guys that they didn't really need, but the Seahawks kind of did the same as well.
Yeah.
They took a running back, and just the same as the Rams. The Rams took running back when they took a running back last year in the third round, and they just got rid of a running back. It's all very confusing. Arizona drafted pretty well.
To back up my claim of the 49ers, I think their draft is telling in that they went for two premium talents and were quite happy just to wait to see who was there in the fifth round. The
49ers are kind of like the Redskins. They drafted good to begin with, and then it just all fell apart.
Yeah.
But they've from the first round they've done well. And I think they've thought if we can get two difference makers, we're good to go. You could argue their wide receiver kind of core is in flux a little bit, but by adding Brandon Ayuk, I think they've supplemented it. So they've still got their D line. They've added to their D line, even though they lost Faulkner. They've gone for Kinlaw, who's significantly cheaper.
And talented.
Talented in the bargain.
I just wonder though, like the Ayuk pick, I like Ayuk. Just my only problem with that, with the 49ers, was that there was better options available. That's how I feel about that particular pick. But I've got the last question for you, right, guys? And then we'll wrap the show up. This is actually from UK Giants. They got in touch. No. In case you wonder, we get on all right with them. But
no, it was good. I saw this one as well. It was in good intention.
Yes, they're just wondering that after the draft, the NFC East teams have had. They're asking how tough and competitive do you think it's going to now be?
It's not the NFC least anymore.
I agree. Yeah,
I would say that.
Yeah,
it's not the worst division in the NFC anymore.
Yeah.
I would say that the Giants have drafted to help on the O-line. Could they have taken a wide receiver in a wide receiver heavy draft?
Yeah, they didn't miss out on wide receiver. But, I mean, they got a hell of a steal in the second round with McKinney.
Yeah, they did. I just wonder if they reacted to our pick.
I think they drafted not too badly. And they addressed the O-line. They addressed the O-line.
Big time.
Yeah.
It was like three. I think they drafted like 3 tackles.
Yeah.
Did they not?
Yeah. They took 3. Yeah.
And that was the biggest piece that was missing, was the O-line. So, I think that, and hello to everyone from UK Giants as well, of course. But that, as it stands, unless anybody's got anything to add, the end of episode 52. Brian's got something. Hit us with it.
I do. Absolute shout out to the MVP of the draft weekend, Will McClay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
This was a scout's draft. You could tell.
Yeah.
You could feel very sensible, like we were saying. So, yes, Will McClay, thank you very much. But that is it for us. Go on, Paul. I can see you ready to go.
We cannot forget our good friends at Cowboys Experience.
Of course, yeah. You always remind me on that one.
Yeah.
Make sure if you're going to book with anybody this season to go to a game, you book with Cowboys Experience. Use the booking code UK Cowboys for a special gift as well. At the end of the day, we've had people from UK Cowboys go, had a great time. We want to see photos when you go as well. That would be great.
Not just that, you probably get the chance to meet the youth draft class this year as well.
We'll get to do that. Yeah. And meet other Cowboys fans, possibly even UK Cowboys fans. But make sure as well you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook page, the YouTube channel, and the podcast. Make sure you do all that, and then we'll see you on the other side. Next week, we've got a special guest with us who's going to talk all things NFC East. And then we'll start looking to close season 1 down. So we will see you all again next week, guys. And stay safe out there.
See you next time.
Good luck.
La 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 la.